Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to showcase the project or the build that I've been working on for the past couple of days, and it is a Death Oath DK Autobomber using a Forbidden Shaco to boost the damage of DK to I would say absurd amount for what it is, using the Storm Burst mechanic. Also going over a bunch of different mechanics that I am new with, basically from the 325 League, using, for example, the Font of Thunder, plus the new Watcher's Eye modifier, which says fire and cold damage taken as lightning damage, playing this together with Divine Flesh, so we don't get any fire and any cold damage. We're going to convert all of that, and therefore having triple, or actually quad 90 resistance, because as I said, fire cold we take as lightning and chaos. Lightning chaos we have 90% max resistance. I also got my hands on the Haunted by Tormented Spirits weapon enchant, which costs like 85 divines or something. So I put that one in, and we're scaling incredible amounts of AoE. I think my Death Oath currently runs on, I think like 209% AoE, which is almost, I would say if I stand here, it's about the outer circle here from the Death Aura, so it's almost screen wide clear. Alright, before we go into any detail on what this build is about, how it functions, all these like kind of mechanics that I put in that might be interesting for you as well for your build, because this is not like Death Oath specific. We're gonna run a couple of map showcases here, probably 2 or 3 maps here with the Toxic Sewer. So what do I use this character for? Mainly for farming gold. I want to do speed mapping T16s to get a lot of gold, because problem is, as you see here, I'm always out of gold. So I currently rebuilded all my employees basically, and I only want to have level 9 or level 10 employees here on the mining, for example, only level 10 and level 9. And they cost quite a lot of money basically, right? I'm still not done. I'm missing like 3 boys here on my smelting. I think my boats are basically triple 10 or something, like they cost a lot of currency, right? Or gold in that case. I think just without sending mappers, without sending ships, I think I need like 30,000-40,000 gold just to pay off my farmers, my miners, my smelters and stuff like that. So I would not be surprised if I get to 100,000 gold when everything is running, when my mappers are mapping, my shippers are shipping, and those kind of things, So I need a lot of gold. So what do? I needed something that is very fast, very efficient, and can go shit tons of gold. It's not like an insane gold strat, because we're not running scarabs, we're not running anything. I'm getting probably 10,000 gold per map, which is not a lot. But with this build, I need like 1.5 minutes per map, so that gives me like, I don't know, maybe like 500,000 gold per hour, and that basically serves the purpose. Basically, it's an auto walker. You just run around. I'm even like only playing with my mouse at the moment, just because I don't need anything else. And for single target, we're having Storm Burst. And Storm Burst is... It's not meant to be a Storm Burst skill, it just helps me to trigger my, my DK. But I'm gonna talk over the mechanic, why is it Storm Burst, and what is actually the mechanic behind it, right? Then I'm playing things like the Defiance of Destiny to help with the survivability, but it's not the most damage, obviously, right? It's even weird because, honestly, PUB has so insane problems. It doesn't calculate my DK damage, it doesn't calculate my Death Oath damage properly, because I think based on PUB I'm running like 200k DPS with Death Oath. And honestly, with the maps dying and exploding that heavily, even with more monster life, there is no way this is gonna be 200k DPS, right? So let's take a look at the boss. Okay, the boss just exploded. This is just on this map specific. I just wanted to show the single target DPS, but I can't because the boss just exploded in the middle of the pack. But it is such a comfy build where you just run around, you have your Death Oath clearing, and for rare packs or essences, you have your Storm Burst setup with Decay, where I'm going over the mechanics on how does this work and where we get the damage from. Top of that, I'm playing this with Nico. We get... Bro, these lags, bro. I think this is like the only real way of being fine with lags. And we just got the Nameless Seer over here. Dude, I don't know why, but I'm kind of lucky with the Nameless Seer. Like, every day I'm getting like 4 or 5 Nameless Seers, which is actually crazy. And we are getting completely shit on like always. This guy just never gives me anything good. I don't know why. On League Start, he actually gave me a Void Battery that I could sell for 3 divines, which was definitely nice. But Other than that, it's like a 1 chaos item usually that I get, but it is what it is. But as I said, I'm 4 or 5 nameless here, but this is just the nature of the build being so fast. You know, you just run around and you pick up the Necrotrons, you get additional movement speed, you're exploding everything. You don't have to press buttons. You know, I have my Storm Burst on right click, and that's basically it. So let's talk a little bit about the Haunted modifier. As you see, I'm already, or kind of like, you see there's like 3 orbs. I'm currently possessed. The problem is, it doesn't really tell you what possession you have. There is actually a list of like, I don't know, 30, 40 tormented modifiers that you can get. And this basically resets every zone and is kind of permanent for the zone. But honestly, I wasn't really bothering too much on what do I get and what do I not get. So can I now show single target? No, boss is dead again. That is like a bit unlucky here, but it is what it is. So, back to the Helmet modifier. As I said, it resets every zone. It is permanent. There are some very nice things. For example, like increased attack speed, movement speed, and cast speed, which is nice. But all the other things that I get, I don't know, sometimes you just have those like Haunted modifiers, you know, where you do like this weird shockwave of like cold or something like that. Where I think there's even one with corpse explosion and stuff like that. I would just say it's more of a headhunter thingy, where you say, hey, I just take every buff that I get, but I personally don't really care, and just live with the upsides of it, right? So let's finish off this map over here. And more chain reactions. So we basically ran out 2 maps. Kind of interesting. I think it should be like somewhere about 20,000 gold. And yeah, mapping with this character, it is, I mean, it's not an uber boss kill or anything like that. It's just supposed to be a strictly fast mapper where it's just like, I don't have to press buttons, I don't have to think about it, you know, I just run around, I explode things. And a good thing is Death Oath is an AoE damaging ability, which just means while you're picking up loot, you're still gonna kill everything around you. So we picked up like 16,000, 17,000 gold, so it's not the most, but as I said, with like the super fast mapping, you're still gonna average out like 300,000 to 500,000 gold per hour, which I definitely need by buying more slaves for my town and, you know, let them work on a proper rate. Good. Let me quickly put all of that in here. We're gonna separate our uniques for our disenchanters over here, and yeah. So, what is the thing about Death Oath? Why is it good this league, or is it even good? First of all, Death Oath got buffed by about 33%. That means it used to do like about a 750 damage per second. Now its base damage is up to 1,000. But I would still say Death Oath is like the budget version of Righteous Fire with less scaling options. Because the problem is, and this counts for both now, it is my Death Aura coming from Death Oath, and it's the Decay support. So, the Death Aura comes from an item, so therefore it's not a skill gem. There is no physical skill gem where, for example, like Malevolence or something, right? So plus level to skills don't do anything. On top of that, Death Aura and Decay both are not ailments. They are not poison, they are not ignite, they're not anything like that. So it is very, very hard to scale the damage. So I would guess in the late game, which I haven't done yet, but I would say in the late game, it would be more of an angle of an adorned setup where you just put in like dot multi and chaos magic jewels and just try to ramp up the damage this way. Good, let's talk about Decay. So why Decay? Basically, the Decay support is a very, very old thing. Let me quickly pull up the Decay support. That never really got any kind of use. It usually comes from an essence, I think, and it basically is just like a dot, as you see here, like a 1,000 damage per second for 8 seconds. So it's basically a strict up dot that I apply with a hit. So it could be an auto attack, it could be like, it needs to be linked to something, right? Unless you have it on the weapon or something. So if I say level 1 fireball with DK support, I shoot a fireball and then there is this weird dot on the target and it lasts for quite a long time. So, the best way to scale that is base levels, but as it's not a skill gem, we need to get the other, other ways, and I did it with the Forbidden Shake, who gives you a level 30, or up to level 35 DK. So let's check out the damage. On level 20 DK, we have like 1,000 damage. On a level 35, we have 3,844. So basically 4 times the base damage. And how do we scale that? As I said, plus levels, chaos.multi, plus levels and ailment stuff doesn't work, so we have to go strictly generic damage with anything. Chaos.multi with Malevolence or chaos clusters or anything like that, that works generic damage. So Another way to scale that, if you didn't know, DK has actually a build, or it takes the kind of like stats of your gem that you're actually using the gem with. For example, if we take, just for an easy explanation now, we take Arc, right? Arc says 15% more damage with hits and ailments for each remaining chain. I don't know if it works with Arc because it says hits and ailments. We're not dealing big hits, we just apply the DK with a hit, but it says for ailments, and since DK is not an ailment, it doesn't scale that way. But the thing that I want to explain is, it's still like DK gets the 15% more damage for each remaining chain, which is baked into the Arc skill gem. There is also another way to do it, which is, for example, Infernal Blow of Immolation, I think, where you get a more damage multiplier based on stacks on yourself, which also counts for DK, or you take something like Storm Burst. And Storm Burst says, exploding orbs deal 75% of skill damage for each 0.4 seconds of the remaining duration. What does that mean? So basically, the longer the duration of Storm Burst, the more damage I get for the exploding orbs, and these 75% does actually work for DK. So what I do is, for my single target, I just channel it for a second or a half a second, and I want to trigger this explosion. And then, based on the remaining duration, I get the more damage, right? And that's the reason why my skill tree looks like that, because all we want to do is get as much as duration as possible. We have the skill effect duration over here with the more skill effect. We're gonna go down here to the exceptional performance for even more skill effect duration. I even went with the large clusters with Wicked Paul, for example, with increased skill effect durations. Like, every duration that we can get is good. Same with the support gems, they are not here to support the Storm Burst, they are here to support the duration of Storm Burst. So, efficacy has skill effect duration of supported skills. Skill effect duration increases the duration of my Storm Burst, and therefore increasing the damage of my DK. Same as Enhance does, because the quality of Storm Burst gives it base duration, and with the new more duration support, this used to be increased duration, now it's more duration. So, what does that mean in total? We currently have a 9.10 seconds duration of Storm Burst. So if we take 9.1 seconds and divide this by the 0.4 basically of the Storm Burst setup here, for each 0.4 seconds of remaining duration, so we divide this by 4, we get a 2275, and this is basically the multiplier for the 75% more damage. So my DK currently gets 1706% more damage coming from the remaining duration of Storm Burst. And you might think like, wait a second, isn't that actually insane? You're getting 1700 more damage for your DK. Yes, it is, but it is still DK. It doesn't scale with ailments, and it has probably like a low base damage with like 4000 basically, which is not bad, but given the fact that it's still not an ailment and anything that we can scale it like that, makes it still okay to use. As I said, I cannot POB this. I would assume if we add this like 1700 more damage, we probably have like 5, 6, 7 million chaos dot damage coming from the Storm Burst, and this DK then lasts for, I don't know, like 20 seconds. So what I usually do on like rough bosses or essences that are like empowered or torment or whatever, I go over there, I do like one burst, and then I can just go away, and this guy is just gonna die, because DK already has a base duration of like 8 seconds. And then with all the more duration and skill effect duration and so on, it probably lasts like 15 or 20 seconds. So that is basically my single target. Death Oath is basically an aura, so we can use things like what I did here. We allocate the Beacon of Hope with 80% increased area of effect of aura skills, which is usually, like, what do you need aura skills? Maybe for like an aura bot, this is basically a hidden anointment down here on the Templar side. So I want to scale the AoE basically, right? And then we also have other AoE modifiers, for example, with the increased area of effect and other sources of ink AoE. So we're getting a whopping, 200% ink AoE, making it almost screen wide. Other than that, we have Void Manipulation, less duration, Swift Affliction, Life Tap, and Efficacy. Life Tap here, my Death Oath doesn't proc Life Tap, right? But Life Tap says support skills deal 20% more damage while you have Life Tap. It doesn't say that you need to proc Life Tap with the skill that you have it into, right? So that's why I opted in here a life tap support on level 1, so I need the minimum amount of life, and then like a withering step with automation and a flame dash. So when I flame dash, I'm proccing a 16 seconds, and yes, it is that long because we have so much more skill effect duration on our character. And while this buff is up, which you naturally have by just running around or basically having my automation with withering step, it's permanently up, so I get the more damage. And that's basically my Death Oath setup, and it's basically just a regular Death Hour. So if I just go into the testing area, which is Blood Aqueducts, you're gonna see how nice the AoE is. So if I find some monsters, so there it is. So basically, yeah, almost a screen radius. Another thing here with the explosion. So we're playing this as the Occultist, and we get Profane Bloom, which says cursed enemies. That's important. Cursed enemies. You or your minions kill have a 50% chance to explode, dealing a quarter of their maximum life is chaos damage. So it needs to be cursed. That's why I'm running a Blasphemy Despair Aura. So I basically have like a Despair Aura effect. So everything that comes into my range is cursed, and if they die from Death Oath, they're gonna explode. And then I still have a curse enemies with Despair on hit. So why that? Basically, when there is a chain reaction happening and it's outside of my Despair Aura effect, I still want to trigger my Profane Bloom explosions, right? And I can only trigger those explosions when the enemy is cursed. So what happens? A monster basically comes into my area, it gets affected by my Blasphemy Despair, it gets killed by Death Oath, and then it triggers the explosion. The explosion is a hit and is actually cursing the enemies it hits with this spear, triggering another explosion based on Profane Bloom. Because what would happen if I don't have a curse on hit ring is basically that my Profane Bloom goes off based on my Death Aura, but it doesn't trigger chain reactions because it would only explode the monsters around them, and then the explosions stop because the enemies were not cursed. So this is the reason why I do have a double Despair Aura. I can add another curse since we have Unholy Authority with the additional curse. Probably it's going to be Punishment or something. Usually would take Temp Chains for poison builds, but this is not a poison build, this is just strictly Chaos Dot, so I guess Punishment or maybe a defensive thing like Enfeeble would help more. I mean, Temp Chains is still a defensive thing as well, right? So you could opt in there with like Asenat's Gentle Touch and stack explosions, because this is what I'm doing here. I have Profane Bloom Explosion, I do have the Unspeakable Gifts over here, I think I have another Unspeakable Gifts over here, which is also an Exploding mod. I do have an Exploding Wand, which is completely useless. With an Obliteration, you're fair off and very good to go. And with Asenats, you even have more damage there. But this is not an additive stackable mod, basically. So if you have like a 100% chance to explode, it's definitely not 100% unless the stat says 100%, right? Profane Bloom is 50%. So it's getting calculated the way where you say, how much is the chance of not exploding, okay? So if I have a normal monster, it dies, it doesn't explode. Now I have Profane Bloom, which has 50% chance to explode. So it also means it has a 50% chance to explode or a 50% chance to not explode, right? And this is basically after each other. So I'm having Profane Bloom proc. It did not explode, so there's a 50% chance it doesn't explode. And after that, we have the Unspeakable Gift for another 10%. So this is not really 10% with Profane Bloom. It's actually 5% because it's counted off the remaining chance of not exploding. But the more you add up, the higher the chance obviously is. So I'm probably somewhere like 69% chance to explode nearby enemies. Good. Next thing is, let's talk about the Font of Thunder. So Font of Thunder has the 40% cold and fire damage taken as lightning damage. This is not from hits, this is global, okay? This also counts for dots. So I would take 40% of an ignite as lightning damage. Then we have the new modifier here with the Purity of Lightning, which says 11% or up to 20% fire and cold damage taken as lightning damage. So now we're at 50% or above 50% in that case, which above is always bad because you actually take more damage. So you want to get this as close to 50% as possible. But with Divine Flesh, we also have 50% of elemental damage taken as chaos damage. So 50% coming from the Font of Thunder and Watcher's Eye combination with Purity of Lightning, and the other 50% coming from Divine Flesh. So I could now run minus 200 fire resistance, minus 200 cold resistance, and it wouldn't matter because all the damage, all the fire and cold damage that I take, it's either going to be lightning or chaos, which I have 90% resistance based on a Topaz Flask, based on the Purity of Lightning, and based on our effect from the the Purity of Lightning, basically, right? And there is still some modifiers here where you get like +1 maximum lightning resistance. There is also a Glorious Vanity that gives you max lightning resistance. So getting 90% lightning resistance is not really hard. And then 90% chaos resistance. Since we're getting Divine Flesh, we get 5% max chaos resistance. Then I got here a Glorious Vanity, giving me 1 max chaos res on a couple of sources here. And then I'm stacking basically the, Born of Chaos node. So 3 over here, 3 over here, makes it 6. Then +5 here from Divine Flesh makes it 11. And then I have 3 mods over here, makes it 14. Maximum Chaos Resistance. And then I'm missing 1. I think here in the Mastery is also like 1. And this gives me to 90% Chaos Resistance. So this build currently has 90 all max res, including Chaos. Because Fire Cold doesn't care, it's getting converted anyways. So that's actually quite neat to do over here. Then Defiance of Destiny got nerfed, but it's still very, very potent and strong against small little hits. Basically, for example, the Dark Forest map where there is Rigwald and doing his like Wolf Barrage or something, you know, you just stand there and you just tank everything because every wolf that hits you is actually healing you, and it's an ongoing process, which is very, very nice. My boots, I wasn't really bothered crafting them, my gloves neither, so these are like the kind of like weird wonky things where I just didn't really care about. The fire resistance doesn't do anything, so all these gloves do is like 120 life, and that's basically it. And the boots, I mean, they don't even have stats, it's just for movement speed. And with the Mage Blood, it's basically speed, more gold, and getting basically lightning resistance, and avoid being shocked for my Storm Shroud Jewel that I have somewhere. Then another cool thing here is my Impossible Escape here. It goes down over here with the Precise Technique, giving me life, potential access to spell suppression, same over here. So as soon as I would go ahead and craft gloves and boots with spell suppression on it, I would go and pick up the Innervate cluster and take with the Precise Technique those spell suppression nodes. But it also gives you access to the new Leader of the Pack, which is like a mana reservation and aura effect of aura skills, or area of effect, which my Death Oath is an Death Aura. It is an aura, so it gets increased AoE, which is like 20% over here. And then we have also the Mastery somewhere, where I also get 30% increased area of effect of aura skills. These nodes are usually not really taken at all, just because who cares about the AoE of your auras, right? If you're not an aura bot, for example. But Death Oath is an aura, so all these AoE nodes will actually help making it feel a lot better. What else is there in my skill tree? As I said, we covered the Glorious Vanity. We have here Born of Chaos. This is also like normal. Here's my Storm Shroud Jewel. We talked about the Impossible Escape. Here we have Light of Meaning, just to add like chaos damage to all these like small little nodes, just for some extra damage. The Watcher's Eye we already covered, and that is basically it. I would actually go out and play like a triple large cluster on this side over here and here on the bottom side, which means I would need to like remove a couple of points somewhere. Then here I took this Curse Mastery here, just like the minimum amount of points, because I needed enemies you curse are hindered. I needed any form of hinder for my Touch of Cruelty node over here. Chaos spells have a 10% chance to hinder enemies on hit. We never hit, we don't even have a chaos spell, but it says enemies hindered by you take 10% increased chaos damage, which is a more multiplier, so I needed any way to hinder enemies. That could be a level 1 Blight, for example, because that hinders, or you just take one of these masteries and say enemies you curse are hindered, and that's basically it, because we're cursing enemies with the on-hit from our explosions, as well as the Despair Blasphemy setup that we have over here. So other than that, item-wise, dot multi, life, nothing crazy, life, whatever you need. The problem is you don't really need anything, right? We get our Chaos Res super easily from our Occultist Ascendancy, getting like 60% Chaos Res over here, right? I have here an Amethyst Ring with a bit of Chaos Resistance, and that's basically it. And you get all Lightning Resistance from your Purity of Lightning, so all your suffixes on your items are pretty much free to use. So you can go Spell Suppression, you can actually go, there is a Delve modifier, let me see if I can find one of those over here. I had them on Live Search, but PoE Trade is currently not loading. But there is a Delve modifier that says 18% increased area of effect of wait, let me actually, I would like to see that, but it just doesn't load, man. I hate PoE Trade these days, it's so slow. But like 80% increased area or aura effect on enemies you curse, or something like that. Essentially, it gives Death Oath more damage, because increased effect of the auras on enemies. Oh, here, now it loaded, so I can show you this. I don't know, price fixer, because these gloves were actually super cheap 2 days ago. 80% increased effect of non-curse auras from your skills on enemies. That's a long sentence, but in the end of the day, it still comes down to the fact that this modifier gives you an increased Death Oath damage, basically. But there is also like a problem with Path of Building. I cannot import my character, but I will do as soon as I've done that. Good, I think everything is explained. The Path of Building link is in the description below. Let's go over the MTX real quick if you're wondering. We have the Apollyon Hood, the Tormented Body Armor, Tormented Gloves and Boots. We have the Verdant Shield, the Void Weapon with the Imperator Weapon effect, and the Ghost Flame Treasure Hunter effect with Ghost Flame Crystalline Charges, the Apollyon Wings, my Exile's Pilfering Ring, and the Imperator Apparition Portal effect. Then all my auras are basically disabled, running the Despair Herald effect, as well as the Wasteland Flame Dash, but that's pretty much it. Oh, and the new Ghost Flame Ghoul character effect, which makes like this nice looking kind of like aura effect around my character. But overall, I think this is like such a hands down, like so like easy build to play. Usually I have like my furthest right flask I have on my mouse button, right? So usually when I'm mapping, I'm just putting this over here because this is my source of corrupted blood immunity right now, because I need to fix that. But then I have like my life flask on my mouse, and then I just run around, you know, just don't care about anything. I have my Storm Burst on right click for the more heavy single target. If I get corrupted blood or I need a life flask, then I just use my mouse. So I don't need anything to just run around and just explode monsters and just having a good time without doing anything but exploding monsters and and get all the loot. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.